My dear friends, today let's go to another important part of the demand analysis. In the previous class, we have discussed about the law of demand, which states that there is inverse relationship between price and demand. Higher the price, lower will be the demand. Lower the price, higher will be the demand. That does mean consumer purchases larger quantity of goods when the price is less, and he purchases less quantity of goods when the price is high. Today, it's a continuation of this demand analysis wherein we learn two important things, that is the movements along the demand curve and the shift of the demand curve. Please see, some people wrongly pronounce it as movement and shift of the demand curve. It's not so. There we see the movements along the demand curve, and the demand curve shifts rightward or leftward. Now let's see the difference between the movements along the demand curve and the shift of the demand curve. Before that, we should know what is demand curve. Demand curve is nothing but the graphical representation of the demand function. Demand function refers to the relationship between the price and the demand and the determinants of demand. ಬೇಡಿಕೆಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಧರಿಸುವ ಅಂಶಗಳಿಗೆ ಇರುವ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. In the previous class, we have learned that the demand function is D is equal to is the function of price. That does mean demand, the quantity demanded depends on the price of the commodity, and we know what type of relationship is there between demand and price. When price rises, demand falls, and vice versa. The moments along the demand curve occur due to changes in price. Please understand. Whereas the demand curve shifts due to the changes in other determinants other than price. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಚಲನೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಆ ಚಲನೆಗಳು ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿಂದಾಗುವಂತಹ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಚಲನೆಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಬೆಲೆಯನ್ನು ಹೊರತುಪಡಿಸಿ, ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್, we will see the changes in demand, and this is called the shift of the demand. The demand curve shifts rightward or leftward. If it shifts rightward, it means that the demand has increased. If it shifts leftward, it means there is decrease in demand. Let us first see the moments along the demand curve which happens due to changes in price. That means we keep, see, D is the function of price of related good, and then preference, taste, advertisement. So these are all the determinants which determine demand. In case of what is that shift, we just keep this price constant. and the changes in these determinants, particularly say income, yes, income, price of related good, preference, taste, income, advertisement. So here in this case, in case of shift in demand, we keep price constant and we see what changes take place in case of demand if there are changes in other factors other than price. Here we see the moments along the demand curve due to changes in price. Okay, now let's see. Movements along the DC. Okay, you just see, you have learnt in the previous class, this is the demand curve. It slopes negatively because of inverse relationship. It slopes negatively. Higher the price, lower will be the demand. Lower the price, higher will be the demand. That is the law of demand. So we see the relationship between price and demand. So movements take place only because of changes in price. There will be changes in demand due to changes in price only, keeping other factors constant. Income is kept constant. There will be no changes in taste, no changes. There will be no influence of advertisement and all that. So here see, say at the price P, the demand for commodity is OQ. This is the demand curve. Suppose if the price rises, demand falls, and this is called contraction. This is called contraction. So there is contraction in the quantity demanded. The demand falls, the quantity of demand falls due to rise in price, and this is called contraction. Contraction can be understood here. The demand curve moves upward here. Arrow mark is shown. Suppose if the price falls, demand increases. When price falls from P to PL, and the demand increases to QH. And here the quantity demanded fell down to QL. So this is PH. Right. And this is called expansion. Expansion. So expansion is shown by an arrow mark, which is downward sloping. So it's moving like this. So this is called expansion in quantity demanded and contraction in quantity demanded. Contraction takes place because of increase in price. Expansion happens because of fall in price. So movements involve two important aspects. One is contraction, another one is expansion. Contraction occurs because of increase in price. Expansion due to fall in price. So changes in price are considered. We do not consider any changes in other determinants, right? So this is about the moments along the demand curve. Coming to the shifts. of DC. DC means demand curve. So this is the demand curve, original demand curve. Suppose here you see we assume that price is kept constant and shifts do take place because of changes in other determinants. Determinants like price of related goods, price of complementary goods, taste, preference, particularly income. Right? When the income increases, we are not worried about changes in price. We speak only about changes in price in case of moments. In case of shifts of DC, we are not worried about price. Price is kept constant. So you must understand that shifts take place due to changes in other determinants other than price. So here price is kept constant. Here we assume ceteris paribus, other things being equal. When price rises, demand for a commodity falls, and vice versa. That is what we have studied. And we studied that there are two things, that they are contraction and expansion. So demand contracts due to rise in price. Demand expands because of fall in price. Here you see price is kept constant, and let us take up one factor, that is changes in income. Changes in income. See, there is direct relationship between income and demand. If the income rises, demand also rises. If the income of the consumer rises, demand also rises. It happens only in case of normal goods. Normal goods are those goods whose demand increases as the income of the consumer increases. But it doesn't happen same in case of inferior goods. Inferior goods are those goods whose demand does not increase when the income of the consumer increases. That you have already studied about those things, normal goods and inferior goods. Here you see, suppose if the income of the consumer increases, there will be increase in demand, and this is shown by shifting the demand curve. D1, D1. So here this much was the quantity demanded, QD, and here it has increased, quantity demanded dash. That means the demand curve has shifted from DD to D dash, D dash. It shifts to the right side. It indicates that there is increase in demand due to increase in income. I told you that there is direct relationship between income and demand. Higher the income, higher will be the demand. Lower the income, lower will be the demand. Suppose if the income falls, decreases, what happens? The demand curve shifts leftwards, and here you see Q2, okay, D2. So when the income is reduced, when the income decreases, the demand also decreases. Quantity demanded also decreases. So here the demand curves are shifting either to the right side or to the left side. If it shifts to the right side, it does mean that there is increase in demand. If it shifts to the left side, it does mean that there is decrease in demand due to decrease in income. I think this is sufficient. Let's conclude this class.